welcome to Behind the Scenes. I'm your host, That Man Blue.
And I'm that girl, Tay. You might know her from Taina, A Girl in the Closet, and even Shark Tank. We're going to get into all of this.
Yes.
All over the place again.
Also music as well?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's get back to the beginning. Where did you start? Like, tell us, how was little LaTangela growing up?
Just like I am right now. I was born like this. I'm telling you, I was. But no, I really did start really young. My mom is a singer. She's a performer. And so my whole family, they grew up, my granddad's a pastor. So they had a whole little gospel group. It was a bunch of them kids, a bunch of those girls. Yeah, so they were like a little gospel version of the Jackson 5. Regionally, they did. Yeah, they were everywhere. So she grew up, singing in the church, and then she went into, doing R&B and stuff when she was an adult. So I grew up around her, performing and rehearsing and all that kind of stuff and doing shows. But she saw the bug in me. I had it early, and she was happy because I have two older brothers that are too shy to do anything.
Really?
They're not. They're actually talented. They can sing and all that, but they're like, no, absolutely not. So they got into sports and stuff. So she was happy that, I was interested in the arts. She was ecstatic about it. So she was ready to support me, like, with everything I wanted to do. So I started off doing pageants. Yeah, I was like 10 years old when I started doing pageants, and I actually started ballet first, and I hated it. I was like, I want to leap and twirl. When are we gonna get to that?
Yes.
Like, when we gonna leap?
That's boring.
Yes. It was like, no, I don't want this. So then we did pageants. We lived in Austin, Texas at that time.
I like Austin.
Yeah, Austin.
Yep.
So my brothers
Yep.
are still in Texas. So I have one still in Austin and one in Dallas. Yeah, so Austin is a really dope town, and that's where my mom was like performing heavy and kind of had another like regional success there as well. So yeah, I started doing pageants when I was little in Texas, and I did state and the city. I did the citywide competition and won that. It was called Young American Star. I don't know if they still exist, but yeah, I won citywide, and then we went to state, and I won that. But then they asked me to go to nationals, and we couldn't afford it. Could not. My mom was not one of those pageant moms that paid $5,000 for the dress.
Yeah, that is a lot.
No, she went to Montgomery Ward. They don't have those anymore.
No, they used to.
Yeah.
We used to shop in there all the time.
I remember $35 was how much my dress was. It was $35, and I loved it. It was like velvet up top, and it was like gold on the bottom with a little tiger thing going on.
I'm picturing it in my head.
With a big bow, girl. And then I did pictures at Kmart in the photo booth.
Yeah.
And I won Miss Photogenic with Kmart pictures, y'all.
Yeah.
And my mom put a little extension in my braid and put a little bow right here. So I don't know. I guess, they just appreciated my enthusiasm. So I was thankful for that. But we couldn't afford it. So she did the best she could. But it was fine. And she, rehearsed with me to do my talent. I did a dance routine to Escapade. I think it was Escapade, Janet Jackson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then and the first one I wrote a play and played like 3 different parts. I used to take what we learned in school, and
you wrote the play?
Yeah, I was on the citywide one. That's what I won with was a play. Okay. We were learning about Helen of Troy in school. And so I played like 3 different parts on the play, and I was just doing this and like and I guess they were impressed. I don't know. So I did that, and then the next one I did the dance routine, and yeah, girl. So and then the pageants, I was like, all right, this has been fun. Right. I don't really want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Got weird. Moms are kind of weird sometimes, and it's just and then we ended up moving to Florida. My dad got a job overseas, so we moved to Pensacola, Florida, which is my mom's hometown. Okay. We ended up going over there later, but at first we went to Florida. And she again just I wanted to do it, so she found a modeling school to put me in. And it was called Images Modeling School, and the guy there, his name is Carter. If he's still around, shout out to him. But he just saw that I wasn't really a model. I was short kind of anyway, but he was like, you can walk and all that, but I see you need to go down to Biloxi, and you need to go to the seminar, and you need to, because all the agents and managers from New York there. And my mom was like, all right, let's go. And I got scouted by manager, Suzelle Management, and she invited me to New York for the summer. To see how it goes, and we went and never left.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we went and we went overseas for a little bit, and then we were in Saudi Arabia at the time, and women couldn't drive at the time or anything. They just got that right, and we were bored, you know, and it was
Yeah.
interesting to live over there and all
Uh-huh.
that. I lived in Turkey as well.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, but then we just got bored and my mom was like, hey, can we go back to New York?
Right. Okay.
Yeah. And my dad was like, okay, just go. And so we went and never left.
Oh
Never
my
left. Yep.
goodness.
Yep. I grew up there, pretty much went to high school and college.
Oh,
And I signed with Abrams Artists. That was my first agent when I
Okay.
was in New York. So I was auditioning and constantly. My mom was hitting the pavement. I was doing music in New York as well.
wow.
Yeah. And so at one point I was really heavier into the music than I was with the acting just because
Okay.
it just wasn't happening. And I like to wear braids. I was a braids girl.
Oh, okay.
I love my braids.
Giving
And they
Brandy.
yes, everybody said that too,
Yes.
girl. I love my braids. And then I went to these real long twists, but I just love having my hair like that. And so in the industry it was so like typical. Like every light skinned girl had to have the mixed girl curl. They wanted all of us to look like Tia and Tamara.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it was just like, okay.
Yeah.
But during that time, like even hair and stuff was even difficult to find, like
Yeah.
the right grade to make it look
Right.
natural. Like that was their hair. Like,
Right.
you know,
Right.
so I'm like, I braided mine up because it was not that manageable.
Right.
So, you know, but it limited me and I had to kind of switch it up at times. But when I ended up actually booking Taina, you know, I had auditioned for Nickelodeon several times and been told no. And that's just the name of the game. You
Oh.
know, it's just how it goes.
Yeah,
Like if you're not, if you don't love it,
yeah.
then yeah. If you don't love it, then this is not for you because there's no time limit. You know, this is a lifelong commitment. You
Right.
don't know when it's gonna pop.
Right.
You know, and they had booked me as a lead on another sitcom called Rep, which was based off of City Kids, which is a repertory company I was actually in.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
and when I auditioned for that, you know, I had booked that role, but then the Taina script came across the table, and they were like, "Yeah, this is the one. Sorry, we're just gonna move you over here." And Maritza
Okay.
was just perfect for
Yeah.
me, so that's how I ended up, you know, doing that role. A lot of stuff in between, like little
Yeah.
music videos and stuff, you
Yeah,
know, and stuff. Well,
okay.
not little, it was like
Yeah.
Jodeci and Mariah.
Okay, then.
Yeah, it was a good experience. I did
Yeah.
that. Yeah, those were fun music videos to shoot.
Yeah.
So I did stuff, but
Yeah.
that was the big break right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So you always wanted to be in the entertainment business growing up, or were you kind of just like, oh, I think I want to try this?
No, it was always like there's no other way.
Yeah.
Like I have to make that happen. And like the other side of me is I'm a nerd. So
Yeah.
that's where the Shark Tank stuff comes in because I'm just in I don't know. I like the whole like invention, creating, just being creative all the way around.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like I don't know. I'm an idea person, and my brother is too. So we'll get to
Okay.
like sitting around drinking,
Thinking
get
of
to
stuff.
talking and stuff about stuff like, oh, you know what? And I'm a doer. So if it's a good enough idea, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna
Right.
figure it out. And you know, I feel like entertainment was always like first and foremost, but I write as well.
Okay.
You know, so singing and music and all that kind of stuff was like, even if I wrote for somebody else, or if it was a jingle or something for a show, like I'd be
Right.
cool with that. I just like, you know, exercising all my muscles really.
Right. Right. Same here. I love doing that too.
Yeah, it's like, why
Yeah.
not? You know,
Right.
don't let somebody put you in a box. Like, yeah,
Exactly. I like to call myself the Jane of all trades.
that's it.
Yeah.
I love it. I like that.
Not
You
the
might
Jack,
get
the
jacked.
Jane.
Yeah, the
The
Jane.
I know that's right. You might get
Yeah.
jacked for that.
Yeah. Right.
And what was your first audition? I know you had started doing the pageants first. And
Mm-hmm.
what was your first audition?
Oh, you know what? Nobody has ever asked me that. Can I remember the first audition? Well, I guess the first one might be that seminar because it was sort of an audition, but it was
Okay.
like it was a few days of a I guess competition. I don't know what to call that, but it was sort of an audition for a showcase is what that was, I would say. But what was I do remember. It was Mythbusters is what it's called,
Oh.
and
I
it
think I
was
used to watch
in school probably when they rolled out the thing. Yes, I used to do the industrials for school
Yeah.
sometimes. Yeah, so that was one, and it was called Mythbusters. And I was in. Oh my god, my mom has that tape somewhere. It's somewhere. You just jogged the memory, and I booked it. It was the first one, and I booked it, and it was like beginner's luck because after that it was a minute. It was a minute. I think after that I did. I was an extra in Fresh. And when I remember the day, you don't really
Yeah.
see me in that movie, but it was the park scene where Sam Jackson is playing chess. One of
Okay.
them,
Yeah.
and the one where you see him sitting with Sean Nelson, who was played
Okay.
fresh. And what's crazy is I ended up going to high school with Sean.
What?
Yeah, and we all went to prom together. Like,
What?
yeah, it's so crazy. Yeah, so it's
That's
crazy how
cool. Yeah.
crazy how everything works. Yeah.
Yes.
Actually, as far as going to school, like a lot of people that I know, or that people that I affiliate with on Nickelodeon, we knew each other before Nickelodeon.
What?
Yeah, like we go way back. A lot of us.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Because you don't really hear about that part, you know?
No. So like Elisa Reyes from All That, and Christy Knowings from All That. I went to high school with those girls.
What?
Yeah, and way before we were thought of on Nickelodeon.
Really?
Yeah, and then like even before we would end up in the same high school, we ran together because we had the same agents, and our moms were managing us, and they're they would go get coffee while we were shooting something. So yeah, we were always, me and Elisa are in Space Jam, I Can Make Your Dreams Come True, Subway. Yeah, so we're in that video together, and so you can see us both in there. And we also did Deborah Cox. Where do we go from here? That was the video.
Okay.
Yeah. We did that together too.
So Hollywood really is a small little circle.
It's like this.
Once you work with someone, it's like running into them, and you see them
all
all the time.
All the time. And
Oh my
Christy is the twin brother of Chris Knowings, who played Lamar on Taina. They're
What?
twins. Yeah, now you can go back and look at the face. You can like same face. Yeah.
Yes.
And Chris was in Crooklyn as a kid, so it's like, yeah. So I'm like, yeah, that's where you saw him
Oh my
first. Yeah, and so yeah, he was in like a scientific high school. New York has these specialty high schools, so he was in a scientific high school and science high school, whatever you want to call it. And me and Christy were at the performing arts high school.
That's crazy.
Alicia
Wow.
Keys went to my high school.
What?
Yeah, everybody was there. And it was a small
And
school
was this
too.
in Texas or Florida?
No, this was in New York.
New York.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
professional performing arts. Shout out to PPAS. I know y'all watching. We got to rap.
know.
So people get us
Good
mixed
rap.
up, right?
Good
Because
rap.
people got to they get us mixed up with LaGuardia, because
Oh.
LaGuardia is around the corner, and so that's the big school. So a lot of
Oh,
celebrities came from there too.
Oh, really?
But we were small. We were like fame for real.
I
Like
need
we
to
were
move to New
small.
York. I need to put my daughter in school.
Yes, and I
We
bet
need
they
to-
have one. I'm sure they don't have it in Augusta. I mean, a lot of. I mean, listen, I'm gonna need y'all to get it together, America.
We have a fine
This is-
art school, but it's not giving what your school
Yeah.
is giving. with
Yeah.
all the celebrities coming out of the school.
Yes. And we had, they would have like, guests come in and,
Yeah.
teach us and different things like that. And then the reason why my school was so much better for me than like LaGuardia, they were stricter at LaGuardia. So
Okay.
LaGuardia was like, you're here to learn and you can go and work after the fact, squeeze it in.
Oh.
But like my school would send your work to set. They fax it to you.
Right.
Like, this is what you're here for. And so that
Oh
was like,
my goodness.
exactly. Like, why would
Yeah.
we be here if we can't
Right.
audition or work?
Right.
So yeah, so that's why I appreciated my school, and it was really like a big family,
Right.
and it's to this day, it's like no matter what clique you were in, we're like one now. Like,
Right.
somebody's having a baby or somebody
Yeah.
passed, we're all there. Like,
Aw,
yeah, yeah.
Aw,
So yeah, I enjoyed it for sure.
that is nice.
Mm-hmm. It was the best experience.
So we know you were on Taina, and that was like one of your biggest roles because you had a big part on the show. Like, how did that feel, like having such like a large role on a popular show?
Oh my gosh, felt like you actually made it.
Yeah.
Like that's what you've been working for. And I
Yeah.
appreciated everything that I booked because it's
Mhm.
hard. The
Yeah.
smallest, and that's kind of where it's hard for actors, because there are accomplishments along the way that we don't get credit for.
Yeah.
Right.
So getting an agent for one is hard,
Mhm.
So even getting representation is a big deal. So we have to celebrate amongst ourselves with that because people don't get it,
Yeah.
And then some people are like, you pay your agent, right? Like when I book something, but if anybody's asking me to pay them on a monthly basis, then
Oh.
that's a scam. No,
Right,
it's not how it
right.
works. So that's why it's a privilege to be with an agent because
Right.
you have to be chosen and they have to believe in
Oh.
you, especially the big agents.
Oh, okay.
It's like that's a big deal for
Yeah.
us. And then when you start auditioning, the odds are against you. So
Mhm.
most times you're not gonna book it.
Right.
Know that. Most times it's a no. Just go in knowing that. But when you start getting a call back,
Okay.
that's another big accomplishment.
Yeah.
And so we
Right.
have to celebrate amongst ourselves
Right.
again because they're like, girl, you got the book.
Right.
And everybody else is like, but you didn't get it.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Right.
So it's so much competition. So when you book, even Girl in the Closet wasn't like the biggest of roles. Some scenes were cut, but it was an accomplishment to say that I played Remy Ma and Tammy Roman's sister.
Right.
I had a name.
Right.
You know, it was a SAG project. You know,
Yeah.
I had lines.
Right.
That's a big real estate on the screen is
Yeah.
so scarce. Like it is so precious. So you have to be thankful for one line.
Right.
You know, because otherwise you're extra,
Oh,
and it's a whole different thing. You
Yeah.
know, so yeah.
I get that. So you
Mhm.
have to get like it's kind of like scouted by the agents. per se?
Well,
Is
you
that
can
kinda-
submit yourself, and
Okay.
you can solicit yourself for agents, and a lot of times on Actors Access they'll have a like a link that they open up every once in a while
Okay.
where you can shoot your headshot and resume to
Oh.
all the agents in LA.
Oh,
New York
okay.
will open it up as well. Yeah, the Southeast will do it.
Mhm.
So you have to watch for those talent links, and you can submit that way as well.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it just depends. Like sometimes the biggest agency, because I have been with the biggest, and it wasn't the greatest experience for
Okay.
me, you know, because I wasn't making as much money as Brad Pitt and Julia
Right.
Roberts.
Yeah.
Right.
And Holly Berry. Like I wasn't making all that money.
Right,
So they weren't
right.
paying me as much of attention as them.
Right.
You know, and so like I'm with the boutique agent and I love it because she's very attentive. She's
Oh,
very,
good.
you know, it's up to me to book it, but when she's doing everything that she can do, that's all I ask. You
Right.
know, she's on point. She's always, you know, available to us. So it's a better experience. You know,
That's
you
good.
just you have to know. And I'm not saying the big ones don't work out for some people, but I just think, you know, people just have to know because they can forget
Right.
that you're on the roster.
Right.
Like,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
too big.
I get
you know.
that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I loved the 3LW episode.
Oh,
Like because for one, I used to want to be a part of that group. And
Okay.
two, like I low key wanted you to join them for real. because
Really?
I heard you had a voice. For
Yes.
real on there.
Yeah.
Like I heard you, I was like, okay.
Yeah, that was such a fun episode. That's everybody's favorite. Well,
Yeah.
that one and Johnny Bo too as well.
Yeah.
But everybody loves that one because it was just me silly busting up their performance on the
Yes,
stage.
but you can actually sing.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like, you can sing. Like, what was that like working with them?
They are so sweet. Them girls,
Yeah.
they actually stayed at my apartment because I always been like,
really?
yeah, I've always been like Mama Tange, even before I
Yeah.
had kids.
Yeah.
And so everybody always gravitates towards me, probably because I was cooking or something.
Oh.
And so they would come over and just stay there. So
Yeah.
we all piled up in my bed. I had a 1-bedroom.
Oh.
We were all piled up in the bed.
Oh my goodness, girl.
We did. We had a pajama party. As we was regular.
There's nothing wrong with some girl time.
Yes. Yes. That's what it was.
And how was your relationship with them on the set? The
Oh,
cast.
we had a good time. We had the best time. I mean, we clown. The cast, like we were silly. We still are.
Yeah.
We said, if you get on our TikToks, listen, follow TikTok.
Yeah.
We are with the shits. Like
Yeah.
we cut up. We cut up. So that's what we did in between. And then like on the weekends when we had time off, we would go to the movies and stuff like
Oh,
that. So I
yeah.
remember like Kings of Comedy when it came out, we were shooting first season. So we all went to see that. And it's like, listen, do not give us no lines. That in life,
Yeah.
we ran it in the ground.
Oh,
Like
Lord.
in between takes, we were always joking and saying those lines. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, we were clowns all
That
the
is
time.
funny.
Yeah, I have a blooper reel that I'm gonna eventually, it's on VHS though. Yeah, so
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but
I
no,
remember the VHS.
right. I think mine still got a VCR, but I don't know how I do
Somewhere,
this.
yeah.
Right.
Yes,
How
yes.
does that translate to online,
Well,
y'all?
I don't know. Figure it out. Because I want to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's funny. It's our first season rap party, and there's like a
Yeah.
blooper reel. So yeah.
And you're still in touch with them today? as
Oh
well?
yeah, we talk
Yeah.
all the time.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah. I just talked to Kalia last week,
Yeah.
and her mama cussed us both out.
What?
She cussed us both out. Y'all not doing enough. Y'all work harder. Y'all know everybody. I'm like, Ma, we are. And then
We
Kalia's
trying.
right. Kalia's
Yeah.
like, Ma.
It's hard out here for a pill.
Right, exactly. We out here doing it.
Yes. So while you were filming Taina, were you still in school during that time?
Well, when I booked it, I was in my last year of high school.
Okay.
Yeah, going into my last year, because after I was on the cast like during the whole process, like right when, because they moved me from one show to the next. It was kind of like pilot. We hadn't even shot the pilot. They hadn't shot a pilot for it or anything. So I was a part of the pilot. And for those that don't know, I also have the episode of the pilot. Right, we reshot the pilot. The first episode is the pilot episode,
Okay.
but there was a different Taina.
What?
It's not the same girl.
That happens often, huh? And
it does, and for different reasons.
Yeah.
But but she, before the world knew who she was,
Yeah,
they switched it out.
right.
Yeah, so a lot of people don't know that. So like my first, breakdowns and everything is a whole nother girl.
Wow.
Yeah.
So at least they didn't pull a Fresh Prince, and
switch it in the middle, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
So
wait,
yeah. We
is
did
going?
lose Santito second season.
Uh-huh.
We didn't see him. I think they just kind of like let it
Yeah.
be, because we didn't always see the house
Right.
anyway. So we just didn't, he
Right.
was young and kind of, I think Taina might have been his first acting thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, kids get
Yeah.
they're like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, they get
You
bored.
know?
Yeah.
So,
That's true.
especially boys, they get too
Yes.
cool real quick.
Yes.
Too cool. So, yeah.
Yes. And how did you balance like going to school, acting, rehearsing, like learning your lines? How did you balance like all of that?
It helped that my mom was supportive in the fact that she didn't really make me go to bed at a certain time or anything like that. But it also helped that I was in a performing arts school. Like I said, they were supportive of the times that I had to be out. But there was a time when I was recording in Baltimore, Maryland, and I was having and I started that in middle school, and when I was in middle school I wasn't in a performing arts school, so that's where they were like so I had a teacher that was like a gangster teacher, like she was just like, I was like, well look, we're not in college, why do we have a 20-page report? And she would go into like the most difficult books, and she was just I think she wanted to be a professor. For real.
Probably.
So I was like having to write these monster papers that was worth like 50% of your grades. My mom didn't play about my grades.
In
so
middle
she,
school?
yeah. And so like I was going to the studio and I had to record all night. So so I was writing these papers and I don't have pretty handwriting. And the receptionist was I would have to hand it to her to type it because she wanted to type. So I would have to hand, and the receptionist would be over there every minute. She'd come in there in the booth like, what is this? Girl. Hey. And she'd be in there typing it for me so I could go home, hand it in. Yeah, it was a lot.
Oh my God.
Got her stressed out.
Yeah.
In the 7th grade.
Oh my God.
Like,
Stop mid-song and stuff. I'm like, oh shit.
Yes. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I have some video of me being in that studio. So I was recording so heavy back then. And it was just like I said, because the acting wasn't the biggest thing, at the time. We had these gaps. I'm like, look, we moved to New York City.
Right.
We gotta do something.
Like, we gotta make it do what it do.
Yeah, we gotta find something to do. So my mom was in the papers, and backstage was an actual paper back then. So we went to the newsstand, picked up that paper. If my agent wasn't calling me, then my mom would find places and auditions and whatever else was going on. Yeah.
And how can people find you on social media?
I am _LaTangela on all social media platforms.
Okay.
Yes, even on Facebook, it's I am LaTangela. It's just no underscore.
Okay.
Yeah. So I appreciate you guys for having me. This was fun.
Yes.
Yeah. Till next time. Yeah.
And thank you all for joining us on Behind the Scenes Podcast, where we bring you life beyond the lens. I'm that girl Tay.
I'm that man Blue.
And it's a wrap.